Ek gesels nou met Brooks, Spector en Duane Aslett oor die moontlikheid van die Amerikaanse regering se ingryping met betrekking tot die GuptaLeaks e-posse. Hello guys. Duane, I'm going to start off with you. Let's start off with money laundering. We hear it a lot. What exactly is it?
Obviously, there's complex definitions of money laundering, but in a nutshell, if I have illicit income, I've got money through selling drugs, whatever, I can't go to the bank and say, this is drug money, I want to deposit it. So I've got to have a process where it seems to the financial system that this has been obtained legally. And that is what money laundering is. It's changing the illicit income to appear as if it is illegally obtained.
So let's talk about the anti-money laundering and bribery laws that emanate from the US. Okay. Shortly, just give me an idea of the law and how exactly it works.
I think we're talking about the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the US. So there's two kinds of legislation that spring to mind. The one is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which is an American law, and the other one is the Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. So the FCCPA was enacted by America to kind of make sure that their businessmen acted ethically. So they don't go to another country and bribe an official there to obtain work. And what they said is, if you do that in that country, even if it's not a crime there, we can prosecute you in America for bribing a foreign official.
Yes. Brooks, let's talk about the GuptaLeaks. And when there's so many at this stage, you actually don't know where to start. But let's use the SAP example. So in the SAP case, it's alleged that SAP paid a Gupta-linked company some money in order to secure a transnet deal. From the face value of it, SAP is a German-based business. Its headquarters are in Germany. Why would the US have any jurisdiction over SAP as a business?
Well, for a very simple reason, SAP is not strictly just a German company. It has business interests in the US. Its shares are listed on stock exchanges in the United States. Vast amounts of money go through its systems. It pays US taxes. It hires many Americans. It has contracts. It pays for services. And as a result, it's domiciled in that sense in the United States. And to the extent that it uses the U.S. monetary system or money through the U.S. monetary system, they're in trouble.
So then what we immediately saw what SAP did is they went and they said, no, we'll do an internal investigation to first determine whether any form or anything illegal actually happened. Take me through that process. Why would they immediately institute an internal inquiry?
Well, America has the Security and Exchange Commission, which is similar to our Financial Services Board. And their kind of view is, if you self-report, if you come to us and you say, we've had problems, we are looking at it, we're clearly cleaning house, they are more lenient in terms of their punishment. So it's like someone going to the school principal and saying, I was naughty, I need to get a hiding. If the SEC catches you out, then they are much more harsh with their penalties. So any company listed, and if we look at the Siemens investigation a couple of years ago, Siemens were listed in America. They were also a German company. 3-year investigation internally cost them, I think, billions to do that internal investigation, to clean house. But it allowed them to carry on doing business in the US because they did that process. Otherwise, they could be stopped from conducting further business in the US.
So, Brooks, as an example, an influential family gets some bribery money in South Africa, and they take all of that money and they go ahead and they deposit, or they turn it into dollars, and then they go and deposit it into Dubai. The mere fact that it's dollars, does that make it an American problem?
Not the fact that it's dollars, but the fact that it went through the U.S. financial system. I mean, there's a vast pool of dollars outside the United States that isn't under the control of the United States, but the financial system is. And to take your example of this mythic family that has money and then does what you said it does, if they put it in a bank, and that bank had a correspondent bank in the United States, and that correspondent bank was the way the money then went on to Dubai or some other Persian Gulf estate, they're in trouble, because the money could be called the beneficiary of some illegal or illicit process. And then at that point, then the RICO statute might well be invoked, and the money laundering laws might well be invoked. And even if they carried boxes of the money more than $10,000 at a time in and out of the United States, even that's a violation. If you travel to the U.S. on your declaration, you'll notice report all currency more than $10,000.
Yes. So in this case, the GuptaLeaks, it's thousands, hundreds of thousands of mails, and they were all sent over a Gmail server. Duane, what's the impact there? That's an American business.
Yeah, I think it'll be more about the instrumentality. Again, the US will look at, remember, this kind of legislation is not there to have America come in a knight in shining armor to save, another country. It's to protect their own interests. So, so it'll be more about did these emails, were they used as instruments in committing any offenses and abusing the American financial system?
Let's take an example that is real, we know of, and we've all been watching it. Sure. This was the FIFA scandal of some years back. The problem began with a man by the name of Chuck Blazer, who was caught out for not declaring his income in the United States, and it turned out that he had been the conduit for money for FIFA money to the Caribbean Football Federation using U.S. banks, obviously. The money came from somewhere else, got into his account, and went the other way. And as a result, the combined forces of the Swiss and several other countries, they came together, because they all have similar laws now. They came together, and then you had that astonishing moment on television when various authorities marched into the FIFA headquarters, or I guess it was a hotel really, and asked them all to come with.
Yeah. So Duane, that's what I want to ask, is everybody's sitting by and saying, so what can actually happen to the Guptas? That's my question, what can happen to the Guptas?
Well, we won't know at this point. We're seeing it unfold as it's going along. But if we look at some examples in the past, the Siemens case I've mentioned, HSBC Bank, which got almost a $2 billion fine for, under Treasury, there's an Office for Foreign Assets Control, which says America wants to protect the dollar from being abused against itself. So terrorists, drug lords, those kind of people must not use the dollar in their transactions. So they tell the banks to use what's called OFAC filters to say, don't allow these transactions to go through, and that's what HSBC allowed. So they allowed money to go to Iran, which was forbidden as a country, and to Mexican drug lords. So
my question is, even if the Hawks do absolutely nothing and the NPA on our side does absolutely nothing, what will the Americans do?
Well, that's the key, because this is not something that the United States will initiate against the mythic family we're discussing on its own, because the complaint should originate in the country in which the offense started.
Sure.
I mean, if the South African government called up the American Treasury attaché or the legal attaché at the embassy and said, we have this evidence now, it's troubling, we need some help, that would begin to trigger.
And can that be done by a private individual, or does it have to be a state authority?
To the best of my understanding, this is a state function because it's a criminal matter.
Yes.
But there are various criminal authorities in a country, and there are various countries with criminal authorities. And so that would be the mechanism most likely.
Okay. Brooks, there's no more time. I would have loved to talk to you guys. The topic is so diverse, but I'd love to get you guys on the show again. Thank you so much. Na die advertensies gesels ons met mediese dokter David Green oor sy oplossing vir pasiënte wat sukkel met mediese eise by al mediese skemas.